Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today's video will take you down memory lane. We're gonna look at 15 of the creepiest children's shows from the 90s, which had a lasting effect on an entire generation. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. Number 1. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark, created by DJ McHale and Ned Candle, is a spooky anthology about the Midnight Society, a bunch of teenagers who would meet every night in the woods at a hidden location to share scary stories. If that's not looking for trouble, then I don't know what is. These young storytellers would start each of their stories by throwing midnight dust, which was actually coffee creamer, into the campfire to make smoke. They would say, "Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this story," and would go on to say the name as a nod to the Twilight Zone, which introduced its episodes similarly. The episodes would also end with one of them dumping water on the fire before leaving. What brought it attention and made it so effective for its audience was the way it brought in everyday fears. Take the fear of something lurking around in the bottom of a pool, for example. This was what one of the most spine-chilling episodes, The Tale of the Dead Man's Float, was all about. The title itself is sure to make any kid jump in terror. The story is set in two time periods, starting in 1954 with a boy named Joe, who's grabbed by an unseen creature in the pool, which drowns and kills him. Cut to 40 years later, we see this creature again when the pool is reopened, and a few kids come across it. This time, they figure out that the pool was originally built upon a graveyard after moving the bodies to a new place. All except one, whose spirit comes back to haunt them with a pretty creepy red costume. Spooky, isn't it? The Tale of the Doll Maker is yet another chilling episode from this iconic series. Despite the name, it's ironic how there's no doll maker in the story. The story is about Alyssa, who goes to the country to visit a friend Susan, only to discover she's disappeared. What she finds in the attic is a dollhouse, similar to that of her friend's house, and with a door that leads to nowhere. It's later revealed that the house is what got Susan, who disappeared through a mysterious door and transformed into a doll. There's an air of mystery to this story, even after its end. The story behind the dollhouse, the way it works, or even how it came to be are details that are never revealed to us, which makes it creepier than anything you've seen before. Number 2. Goosebumps. Based on and named after R.L. Stine's famous book series Goosebumps, the show went on for 4 seasons from 1995 to 1998. Each of the episodes, adapted directly from the books, was much more like a small-scale horror movie. It was both scary enough and not too traumatic. Many of these episodes portrayed eerie characters, be it Mr. Mortman, the librarian by day and alien by night, who liked eating tarantulas and had big eyes, or Slappy the Dummy, who was easily one of the scariest characters of the show with his creepy stares. Well, the series clearly starts off strong since its first 2 episodes, The Haunted Mask, are driven by internal conflict. The story follows Carly Beth, portrayed as someone who scares easily, who decides she needs the most haunted Halloween costume, and finds a mask that literally changes her. The mask, which is referred to as the Unloved, is the one that she's unable to take off, with other unloved masks coming to life, looking to Carly as their leader, and learning to love herself is what it takes to get the mask off and stop all the chaos. Carly starts off as someone who wants to be a new person. A journey she goes through in the episode makes her realize she does not need to be. This is one way to teach your kid about self-love. Welcome to the Dead House, a 2-part episode based on the first book, follows Josh and Amanda Benson, who move to Dark Falls. From the get-go, the children hate this place. They believe the house is creepy. The siblings encounter eerie things throughout their town. Their house also seems to be haunted. It's later revealed that the townsfolk want to keep them there forever, and have no intention of letting them leave. The rest of the episode focuses on how the Bensons get away from this spooky town. If it was me, I would have never set foot inside a place like that. The franchise didn't end with the 90's show. In 2023, a new series was launched on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Diamond-tipped XP9000 surgical saw! Stand back!
Number 3. Freaky Stories. Freaky Stories is often referred to as Twilight Zone, but for kids, it's a Canadian animated anthology created by puppeteer and animator Steve Schneer. The show is about urban legends and is hosted by Larry DeBug, a cockroach, and Maurice the Maggot, his sidekick, who are both animatronic puppets. The tales from the show are either well-known or completely original. The show had 3 seasons, all of which revolved around the theme of urban legends and myths. The episode starts in live action, in Ted's Diner, where we meet the hosts and then move to the animated parts. The stories begin with the dialogue, "This is a true story, and it happened to a friend of mine." If you're looking for a show to watch while having some food, this is not one for you. There are episodes that start very slowly and peacefully, and then suddenly it's revealed that the massaging mattress you thought was so nice is filled with cockroaches. The first season seems to have a trope of animals dying, a cat getting run over, a bird getting crushed, and so on. But season 3 of the show moves on from urban legends to more original stories. If you want to be grossed out and spooked by things that happen to a friend, Freaky Stories is the show for you. Who knows? It might just happen to your friend too. In any case, it's good to be prepared, right? You'll come across people here who went to Mexico and brought back a sewer rat, thinking it's a chihuahua, a girl who has a nest of spiders in her unwashed hair, and many such creepy characters. Number 4. Erie, Indiana. Unlike the other stories we've explored in this video, Erie, Indiana is a show that only ran for one season, from 1993 to 1996 before it was canceled. The show is about Marshall, the new kid who moves to Erie, a small town that looks perfectly normal. But of course, things are not perfect for too long. He soon started to come across very strange things like Bigfoot, a living Elvis Presley, a group of dogs plotting world domination, and so on. The pilot episode, Foreverware, really sets the bar for the rest of the show. A reference to the famous Tupperware, Foreverware is a special type of container designed to keep anything fresh, like the name suggests, forever. And when I say anything, I really do mean it. Mrs. Wilson, the woman who sells it, seems to be keeping her twin children in these every night for 30 years straight to keep them from aging. Well, soon, Marshall, along with his friend Simon, embarks on a journey to save his family and the twins from repeating 7th grade over and over. Now, that's what I call creepy as hell. It's too sad that we didn't get to see more things in this show. With a happy ending for everyone involved in it, America's Scariest Home Video is one of the rare episodes. The episode follows Marshall and Simon, who are tasked with babysitting Simon's little brother on Halloween. Instead of giving him their full attention, they put him in front of the TV. This causes trouble as he uses the remote to switch places with the mummy from the old film. The kid has a lot of fun terrorizing people in the movie, and the mummy, on the other hand, turns out to be someone who hates being the monster all the time. He's just a long-deceased actor. The final episode of the show ends with Marshall breaking the fourth wall, where he finds himself backstage on set, with people calling him by his real name. A secret last episode, The Broken Record, also aired when Disney picked up the show. The show went on to become a cult classic and gained a new fan base after it aired again in 1997.
Firstly, you will
Number 5. Demon Headmaster. The next show for this video is a British TV show based on the same books written by Gillian Cross. The show revolves around a group of children who attend a seemingly normal school, but once again, you guessed it, it's not normal for long. The titular character, the Headmaster, possessed powers of hypnotism and believes that what he thinks is best for the whole world. He hides behind his dark-tinted glasses and is also the only one in the show to wear glasses because guess what? He has certain superpowers. You see, when he removes them, he can hypnotize his victims. We never know his name or background. We only know him as the Headmaster, which in my opinion adds to the mystery. The Prime Minister's brain, which became the last 3 episodes of Season 1, follows the plot of the second book of the same name. The Society of the Protection of Our Lives Against Them, SPLAT, have gone back to their normal lives after their victory against the Headmaster. A computer game, Octopus Dare, is introduced. It has a majority of the children across the country enthralled, and the episode begins with Dinah, who excels at it. She becomes a top scorer and is invited to a tournament for which she requires an extremely expensive computer. When she's unable to attain it, she behaves very uncharacteristically and believes that the game has been affecting her behavior. Scared to go alone, she takes the rest of the SPLAT along with her, but fails to enter with them. But she's soon stuck alone with the Headmaster, who plans to take over the Prime Minister's brain. As her friends outside try to enter the premises, the rest of the episode looks at how the Headmaster is defeated yet again. The show's portrayal of an authoritative figure aiming to control everyone, and the theme of rebellion against authority are some of the key ideas that left behind a lasting impression. After all, it is a kids' show. Number 6. So Weird. So Weird, like the title itself suggests, was one of the oddest and probably the darkest Disney shows ever. Because of its dark tone and the way it began similarly, with voiceovers explaining the lore behind whatever was about to be explored, it was compared to The X-Files. The show ran for 3 seasons, with the storyline revolving around Fiona Phillips for the first 2, and Annie Thelen for the 3rd. The show starts with Fiona Phillips, a teenager obsessed with all things paranormal, on tour with her rock star mother. It's hinted that she's also part witch. She's under the impression that her father died in a car accident when she was 3 years old. One interesting thing about this show, at least to me, is that rather than just showing all things horror, it was also very enlightening about legends from the real world and folklore. Our characters come across new lore in every place they visit. It's not just set in one town. They deal with creatures like inky monsters that manifest in nightmares, floating ghouls, will-o'-the-wisps, sirens, werewolves, and whatnot. On one such adventure, it's revealed that Fee's father had a connection to all this, to the unknown, and that it probably led him to his death. Season 2 ends with our protagonist having a tearful reunion with her father's spirit, giving her character a fulfilling end. Our heartbreakingly great episode starts off with Fee asking the question, if you could live forever, would you? Here we run into Rebecca, her mom's friend who moved away when she was 13. Sounds normal, right? Except she's still 13. Imagine taking 100 years to grow 1 year older, and how hard it would be to keep that secret. Unlike the first 2 seasons, Season 3, which follows Annie Thelen, a friend of the family who moves in with the Phillips, takes on a lighter note. This one has romance and singing involved too. This seems like such a shift considering how the writers originally intended to have Fee descend into hell. It's very uncharacteristic of Disney to have such dark tones in its shows. I'm sure that contributed to its popularity.
Hey, move! Mr. Purdy! Move it!
Number 7. Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Based on the Tales from the Crypt, the 1950s EC Comics and live-action TV series, a milder, animated, child-friendly spin-off is the next show on our list. Tales from the Crypt Keeper. The show starts with the host, the Crypt Keeper, who would introduce the story and come back at the end with his cynical commentary. The second season follows him trying to save his show from his rivals, the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch, who don't have shows of their own. He takes up an active role in Season 3, where he sets up scary lessons so he can scare the bad kids straight. The Avenging Phantom is probably one of the most unsettling episodes of this show. With a hint of superhero imagery going on, the episode follows 10-year-old Jimmy, who wishes he could get revenge. Like his favorite superhero, on the people who torment him. He gets his wish, only for all of it to go horribly wrong. With tons of twists and turns, Pleasant Screams is another great episode that plays with the concept that it was all a dream. In this episode, a teacher and one of his students finds themselves trapped in the nightmares of another student. In this ever-changing nightmare, they find themselves being stalked by a bunch of monsters and a man with no face. If you thought that was creepy, wait till you see what we have in store next. Number 8. Century Falls. The next show for this video is a British children's show, which is somewhat of a rarity these days. Century Falls. The show follows Tess Hunter, who moves into Century Falls, a seemingly normal town, but of course it isn't. The strange thing here is that almost all its residents are old, with the exception of the twins, Ben and Carrie. These two seem to have psychic powers, and a strange connection to the waterfall the town is named after. The town has a creepy history. 40 years ago, its residents, all psychic by the way, tried to raise an entity called Century with a weird pagan ritual. The characters tend to remind you over and over again how the place is weird. The tone for the show is set in the pilot itself. The twins' uncle runs into Tess and her mother. When Tess asks him about the weird look she gets from the Harkness sisters, who do not approve of them coming to the village, he explains that she's a rare sight. We're also introduced to Alice Harkness, the oldest woman in the town, who lost her mind 40 years ago. Tess, who meets Ben and Carrie, visits the site of the ritual with them. Here, Ben uses his powers to show them what transpired. A huge fire that killed lots of people, and a woman running away screaming that it was all their fault. Creepy, right? When the children visit the waterfall, they spot a girl near it. As Tess tries to talk to her, she falls in. It cuts to Alice screaming and cuts back to the girl fading away, ending on a cliffhanger.
What do you want? Oh, boy, you nearly scared.
Number 9. Extreme Ghostbusters. A sequel series to complement the real Ghostbusters, Extreme Ghostbusters follows Egon Spengler, who leads a young generation of Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters have been out of business for a long time when the paranormal activity starts spiking in New York. Egon hires and trains a team, only going on occasional missions and passing on the torch. The Unseen is an episode where we follow the gang trying to bust an eye-stealing demon terrorizing the city. Things go from bad to worse in this episode. With Kylie and Eduardo losing their equipment to criminals who use it for crime, the Ghostbusters get thrown in jail. The orb, which turns out to have a ghost trapped in it, was initially used as a talisman to sacrifice eyes to the gods to watch over people. With the addition of a ghost, things take a wrong turn. It now steals the eyes of all who look at it. The next episode, Killjoys, like the name itself suggests, is about a bunch of vampire clowns who go around killing joyful people. Eduardo slowly starts turning into one of them after he's bitten. The way this episode began was way too creepy for me. When a man laughs at the clown, a huge tongue emerges, sucking him up entirely. Gross, right? Well, laughter makes them murderous. If you'd like watching happy people get devoured, then this one is for you. Number 10. Aon Flux. Aon Flux is an American animated experimental sci-fi series with 6 seasons. The episodes had a lot of variety. Dystopian, spy fiction, and psychological horror were a few elements. One theme that was important in the series was the nature of reality and chaos. The show is set in the surreal future, with all things dystopian, like robots and clones, mutants, and a wall that separates 2 cities, Monica and Bregna. For a children's show, there seems to be a lot of sexual stuff going on here. The main character, Aon, who wears very little clothing by the way, is a dominatrix/secret agent from Monica. Her job is to sabotage installations in Bregna. Interestingly, her sometimes lover and nemesis Trevor seems to be the dictator there. The show follows a never-ending war between these 2 societies, Monica with its anarchism and Bregna with its totalitarianism, each fighting for its ideology. One of the most horrifying episodes in this show is probably Thanatophobia. This explores the idea of people and their nation and wanting to leave it, with Sybil and Onan. Onan successfully crosses the border while Sybil is shot. She then gets involved with Trevor, as she has to work at the plant to pay off her surgery bill. The episode ends with Sybil trying to escape again. Only this time, instead of a gunshot, her legs are tied and anesthetized. It doesn't end there. The tools she had been working on in the plant came out, cut off her legs, and sewed them up. She's now stuck there forever as a cripple. Imagine building something only for it to be used against you like this. The episode ends with a view shifting to a child, his arms cut and sewn, suggesting he tried the same. Number 11. Skeleton Warriors. The next show in this video is a short 13-episode series created by Gary Goddard. Interestingly, this show has been named after its antagonists. The story is set on the planet Luminaire, which is powered by the Light Star crystal. Baron Dark, our main antagonist, tries to steal it, but only gets half of it when he's stopped by Prince Lightstar. Both parties with the crystal receive powers. Baron's half turns him into a skeleton, giving him the power to turn all those with evil hearts into skeletons. Prince, on the other hand, gains the power to channel energy through his hands. His team is also endowed with powers of flight and the ability to travel through shadows. An interesting character in this show is Grimskull, aka Prince's brother Joshua Lightstar. Because he envied his brother, Joshua worked with Baron Dark, but when a fight for the crystal takes place, he interferes, causing him to be turned into an undead skeleton with his flesh still intact. He's also given the power to move through shadows. Baron, on the other hand, goes around skeletonizing people, one of whom is Shriek, an evil woman who has a crush on Prince even after she's turned. We also encounter Oracula, a creature with 6 arms who comes from a race that hates humans. It's also revealed that the Heartstones these villains possess after being turned are the key to defeating them. If it breaks, they can be turned back. But of course, Baron is not going to let that happen. He just goes back to skeletonize them again. But since he's the only one with these powers, he cannot be turned back into a skeleton if it happens to him.
Okay. Thank you.
Number 12. Round the Twist. Hailed to be one of the creepiest, unnerving shows, Round the Twist is an Australian children's show about the Twist family. There are many unconventional things about them. The family, with 3 children and 1 father, lives in a lighthouse, which is haunted. One of the weirdest episodes I came across in this show is the Big Burp, when a character gets pregnant. Sounds normal, right? Except it isn't. Pete Twist meets a tree dryad and falls in love with her. Now, you would think if anyone in this situation could be pregnant, it would be the dryad. But no, it's Pete who is. And guess how he gets pregnant? By peeing on a tree. He then gives birth through his mouth by burping. Weird, right? The most absurd episode in the show, at least to me, is the whirling derfish. Bronson Twist is dunked in a fish tank with a rare whirling derfish, which he swallows. The weird thing here is that it somehow makes it all the way down to his penis. Bronson, of course, experiments with it in the bathroom, where we discover that it is now a propeller. He then uses it to win a swimming competition, and weirdly to fly. If you want to watch a bizarre show that will occupy a place in your brain forever, this is the one for you. Number 13. The Odyssey. The Odyssey, which ran for 3 seasons, is a Canadian adventure fantasy show that follows the character Jay. The show starts with him trying to join a tree fort club, for which he has to bring in something to contribute. Jay picks up his father's telescope, a father who disappeared on a fishing trip when he fell overboard. But instead of letting him join, his telescope is stolen. In the process of recovering it, he falls down, resulting in a coma. Here he wakes up in a place called the Downworld, where there are no adults, only children below 16 who have divided themselves into clubs, with one being the Tower, where the oldest is trying to run the place. The show switches between the Upworld and the Downworld, and we follow Jay on his adventures. He's joined by Alpha and Flash, counterparts of his friend Donna and Bully Keith from the Upworld. Guess who plays one of the characters from the Tower? Our favorite Canadian, Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds. His character is one that wants power and would do anything for it. He takes over from Brad, who initially ran things, and now tries to thwart all of Jay's plans. Jay eventually ends up waking from his coma, but continues to visit the downworld frequently through his subconscious, still dealing with its issues. Number 14. Ghostwriter. Ghostwriter was a mystery series made to teach children reading and writing skills. It follows a group of friends, all hailing from different ethnic backgrounds, who solve crimes with the help of a ghost. Ghostwriter is a ghost that can communicate through writing by moving letters around. He helps them become detectives and solve multiple cases. Like the team does, the audience is also encouraged to follow these cues and try to solve the crime. What made this so great was how they used literary strategies so effectively, and made kids feel excited about reading, even as they were watching TV. Each of these cases took up 4 to 5 episodes, the plot being very well developed as a result. Interestingly, other than the ghostwriter, not much of the supernatural is involved. The kids solve things in the old-fashioned way. The show also addressed a lot of controversial topics, ranging from teen drug use, gang violence, pollution, and so on. In an interview, the producer of the show revealed that the ghostwriter is the spirit of a slave who was killed during the Civil War by slave catchers because he was teaching other slaves how to read and write. Pretty messed up, right? Number 15. Gargoyles. The last show in this video is Gargoyles, an animated show produced by Walt Disney. A clan of warrior monsters known as gargoyles are creatures from the Dark Ages, led by Goliath. They turned to stone by day and came alive at night. After a misunderstanding at the castle, which they try to protect, they're frozen by magic till the castle rises above the clouds. Cut to 1,000 years, a wealthy billionaire transports the castle and places it on a building, fulfilling the clause and freeing the creatures. The rest of the show follows the clan trying to adjust to this new era, while also thwarting other supernatural threats. Interestingly, the show has a lot of Shakespearean themes. It also engages with content like racism and xenophobia. The use of weapons is not uncommon in the show. Violent imagery is often involved. There's also an episode discussing gun violence when the cop Elisa, the gargoyle's only aide in this world, is shot. Arguably the most controversial, the episode Deadly Force was almost pulled for the way it depicted violence, and was only aired after the blood surrounding the wound was taken away. Suicide is also another surprising theme present in the show. The episode Shadows of the Past involves 2 souls from purgatory, haunting Goliath. As a way to drive them out, Goliath is almost driven to kill himself. For a children's show, there sure does seem to be a lot of dark stuff going on here. Marvelous verdict. With that, guys, we've come to the end of this video. It was quite fun exploring the 90s horror mayhem. From eerie tales to urban legends and myths, each had its own unique take on the genre. I guess I know what I'm going to binge this Halloween. It'll certainly be a roller coaster ride of nostalgia. So which of these were your favorites and why? What more shows would you like for us to explore? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe on your way out. Thanks for watching.